Okay, good morning. I'd like to call the Governance Committee meeting to order. It is 11:19, and we have a few items on the agenda, and I'll turn it over to our Executive Director, Wade Davis, to take us through the items we have on the agenda.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. There's a couple things today. 3 of them are housekeeping issues, and 2 of them are policy related. The first one is a data coordinator. We're required now by the Governor Cuomo's executive order to appoint a data coordinator for the authority. And the recommendation on that is there's 2 folks that could or should be. And that's the executive director, the deputy executive director, and what we've been doing is each time one of these mandated things come through, we've been trading off. So Fred got the MWBE, I got the domestic violence, now we've got the data coordinator coming up, and that being information and IT and accounting related. I felt it was appropriate that we have the governance committee appoint the deputy executive director in that role.
As data coordinator, that's also like to make sure that systems are backed up, and like to make sure that that we have all the safeguards in place for security and things.
Can't answer that because this is something that's brand new coming down the pipe. It's just we got to notice
kind of an open-ended job at this point.
Yeah, it sounds
Absolutely.
like.
Well, the reason that I say that is alternating back and forth is probably a simple way of getting it, but somewhere along the road, if somebody gets one that doesn't require much work and somebody gets 2 big ones, maybe as these things happen, it doesn't make any difference to me. You guys are happy with that type of thing, and that's the same thing I had in mind, is what's a data coordinator. So at any rate, at this particular point, we don't know what that total job entails.
Know anything more.
We know we have to have one.
It's just the official point of contact at the authority for data coordination issues.
That's why I asked, because I was trying to figure out exactly what it was too.
I make a motion to bring it to the full board for approval.
I'll second that. All in favor? Any discussion first? We had discussion, but okay. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, we'll take that to the full board. The second one is the
appointment of the ethics officer. We have an ethics officer here at the authority, which is me, and we need to do an official appointment on that because there's a whole bunch of new stuff that's coming down the pike right now. On the ethics side of things that will be coming directly to this committee, and we've been requested to appoint an ethics officer.
okay.
Question.
Yes.
In regards to that, as you know, we all get that thing that we're supposed to read every year on the rules and procedures of all these committees, and then after we take, that's actually our oath that we take. In the beginning of that pamphlet, there is a discussion all about these ethic people that sit on that there's like 21 of them, I believe, that sit on the ethics board.
On the ethics commission, yes.
On the ethics commission. So by appointing you to that position, or whoever we appoint, will they be under those guidelines, and will the state pick up that expense as they do for them? Because if you had to go somewhere to sit on it's a serious question I'm asking you.
Yeah.
If you were to call by the governor to sit on an ethics thing for XYZ organization, and you have to travel, and it's a lot of expense to it. They already have the ethics on their side all built in. They get like so much a day for that, so much for travel, so much for motel rooms and stuff. And some of these folks, even out of that commission, are going into New York City, Long Island, and sitting on certain areas of concern. The reason I bring that up is I'd like to know who picks up, if you are selected to serve on something, who picks up those expenses? Does the authority, or does the ethics authority pick them up?
This is not anything where I serve on anything. What this is designates me the point of contact, and what happens is the ethics commission or the governor's office says authority shall do this.
Okay,
And that puts me in a position where they contact me and they say, you need to develop an ethics program for the authority. And
okay, I'm happy with that, I just wanted to discuss it to see
Um,
where,
Yeah.
But it does come with a string. At some
Yeah.
point, there's probably gonna be some mandatory training, just like there is for the domestic violence thing.
Right.
That, you know, you have to go to Albany for it, so.
So you'd be the contact if somebody raised an issue that there was something going on?
I
Yeah,
am now.
Yes,
I am now.
okay.
So,
okay.
Now, not directly related to this, but each year we do a filing by May 15th, and I notice there's no automatic updates. So, before I forget this and leave, did anybody figure out how to download the?
I just
paper?
did mine.
Just the
Talk to
paper?
Tisha, she'll give you all the information.
Oh, okay.
Sam's
Thank you.
got his done,
Okay.
you can
For
also,
this year already.
yeah, and
You
they
can
have
also
changed the
find-
form.
Yeah, they did,
right,
big time.
and,
I just went through it.
I'll talk to Tisha.
yeah, cause they changed the forum and they did away with that automatic repopulate thing.
Yeah,
But
Right.
you can get your old version of the report off there too, and then
Right.
print it off and have
I
it
took
right
a
there.
hard copy of that
Yeah.
last year.
She just did mine, walked through it, and there was changes in there.
Okay. Okay, so we need a motion.
I'll make a motion, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Okay.
second it to bring it to the full board.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I tried, Sam.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Can we move on to the policy changes?
Yeah, let's jump right over to page 5, if we could. This is domestic violence, policy. What we had to do, this is one of these that, these directives that came down that said thou shalt have, a domestic violence, policy. We already had one in place. We had to get it reviewed and approved, and we passed something as an interim policy. They made a few tweaks to it. This is the result of
Right.
that. There's nothing materially different here from the previous version. It's more of a process thing that we need to go through at this point to adopt and officially enact this policy.
Make
Because
a motion to bring it to the full board.
Need a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the policy?
No, I read it over.
All right. All in favor?
Boilerplate.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed? Next one?
yeah, that brings us over to page 14, designation of management staff. This is a housekeeping issue here because we designate who's management, who's CSEA. Well, put it this way. We designate who's management, and then CSEA falls into the CSEA bucket, ILA falls into the ILA bucket. And then we have our temporary folks, be it the bridge crew or be it the grounds crew. We hired a new accounting manager here a while ago, and we need to add that to the designation of management staff.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, I wanna ask, you know, it was a small staff here, whatever, and it's like, okay, confidential is, how would you identify confidential in the scheme of things, whatever? And I'm gonna say this in a way because I think everybody in this building is on that confidential list per se, except for one person or two.
No, I mean, the accounting department's not on there.
So two people are not confidential employees?
I mean, this is all your CSEA are.
No, I'm talking in this building here in your office area.
Mhm. Well, we've got myself as executive director, Fred Morrell's the deputy, Johnny
Yeah.
Reish is the commercial industrial, Steve Lawrence, director of operations, principal stenographer is Tisha,
Tisha,
confidential secretary is Patty,
Patty.
and accounting manager is Karen.
So actually just two people are not in that confidential area?
There is no real
In the,
confidential area, but you've got the
Well, what I'm
account
saying-
clerk, that's CSEA, you've got
Okay.
the payroll clerk that is, or account clerk. that's
so you
also
have Kathy and
CSEA.
Jessica, are the only two? In your office area,
Yeah,
in this building area, whatever?
Yes.
I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but what I'm thinking is, you've got everybody in that area. How would you not, or how would you include everybody in this building on that confidential list? Or why would you, or why wouldn't you?
You can't because of the nature of
Titles
the
or the union area? Okay. Well, the reason is, I'm not sure what I'm looking for, but I'm thinking is, when you work so closely together, what is, I mean, I don't pick on Patty or anybody, whatever, is,
Well, that's an example.
well, what is,
I'm glad you brought it up, because it's an issue that wanted to discuss with you folks today. When this happened years ago, when Dan Dupree was executive director here, Patty and Tisha couldn't be, in the same area, same work area, same office area, and call them confidentiality secretaries. So Dan divided that. And at that time, Dan moved upstairs, and Tisha moved upstairs. Dan's office was upstairs. Because you can't classify, now Patty was doing, at that time, a lot of medical records and stuff like that. So she was more or less, we wanted to make sure that nobody could see any of that atmosphere whatsoever. So, because she was confidential on all of the HIPAA and all of that stuff. She was handling everything pretty well, right? Now, sometimes this changes, but yet you got two confidentiality secretaries now working on the same level, same desk, same area. I don't feel personally that it's confidential anymore. So if something leaked out of that office, just say it did. I'm in there. I walk in, I see an important letter down that she's doing.
yeah, that's my point,
What?
yeah.
There's no, if a leak comes out of there, how's it come out? Well, Tisha must have done it. No, Patty must have done it. Boom, boom, boom. Now you got two confidential secretaries in the same room. Now, if you had a situation where you were in a position where you were doing that, they're not confidentiality anymore. They are not confidentiality secretaries anymore. When Wade walks out of his office with a prepared statement or an email, and it's confidential, period. It's not confidential in that office. Don't blame her, and don't blame Tisha. You can't do that. Okay. Now, if just Patty's in there, and that leaks out of there, you know where that leaked out from. Just Wade and her. That's the only. Now you got three. You see what I'm saying? Now it's like Monday morning quarterbacking, and I'm not trying to cause a problem here. My own personal opinion, and I'm not an attorney. They are not confidential secretaries anymore because they don't have that confidentiality in that office. Just don't have it.
I would agree with that. They're still on the management side of the fence, though. They're
Well,
not
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And that's
But-
what this does. It designates who's management here.
Listen, I just said to the chairman, I'm glad he brought it up because I feel that there's a gray area there. If I would have known about this, okay, now I'm going to be the bad guy again. If I'd have known about this, I'd have raised it then. I never knew. Quote, maybe you think I did, but I told the chairman this. I didn't know they were both going to be put in that one room. I never seen a design. I never seen the office change or nothing. All I knew was Tisha was back there and there was going to be some changements made there. I never seen any diagram of Patty's going to be here or Tisha's going to be here. Now, all of you know that I would have raised a question on that. The light would have come on. And I would have raised a question on the confidentiality of that.
Well,
That's my say on it.
well, but that's where I'm taking this whole elaboration of everything that's involved here. But everybody working so closely, whatever, and I'm not sure that, I mean, not to pick on Patty or anybody, is everybody really is confidential. I don't care whatever, certain things happen that can't be 100%.
You can't have them all.
You can't have everybody, okay, two people left out of the loop, okay, and not all of a sudden come across information, whatever you want to be. Everybody, if you're confidential, your lips are sealed, whatever, and anybody, Patty, anybody could be in a situation to say, oh, well, it slipped, or I didn't realize at that moment of time that was really confidential information. all information, okay, in their office, whatever, is confidential, should be confidential information with everybody, and it doesn't leave the door. It doesn't leave to other people in the configuration of our workers or other type of people that are on there or whatever. So my point is, it's too difficult to identify confidential, all right? Everybody should be confidential, unless you wanna take those people who aren't there, whatever, and move them completely out of the confines of that office area, whatever. And I don't think we wanna do that, cause we got people right where they need to be in the configuration of this office. I don't know, Wade, what that means as far as doing that with the union or whatever, or not to do, or if the union identifies it that way differently, or in their job description, whatever. Because I think it's very difficult for people inside this office to say, I can't say anything about that to somebody else, whatever wanna be. Some things happen, just naturally happen. You naturally say things, okay? And it's like, and all of a sudden the information. So Patty, if Patty says something to Sally Sue, I would just use Sally Sue as the name, okay, and works in the office, and Sally Sue all of a sudden realizes she has the information, she has the freedom to go where she wants to go with it. And we know we have some really confidential information of Homeland Security stuff and all those type of things that are going on that could slip out, okay, and honestly, not knowing that that's information that's really confidential. I mean, so how do we go back to this process, okay? I mean, you know, to protect everybody.
Well,
Protect everybody.
I think we're kind of an open discussion on that particular issue. I'd like to see, Mr. Chairman, that because of we're being on the camera, maybe we need an executive session on that particular area.
Well,
Because it's gonna be on the internet.
I was kind of letting the discussion go. I think it's getting beyond what the topic on the table is. I think the topic that you were speaking about is more a full board topic, whereas what we are trying to deal with right now is to designate what staff is management staff. And once we designate that, then I think it becomes a full board issue with the executive director and the other principals involved, exactly how we're going to make that work. And, you know, I like I say, I kind of let the discussion go because it needed to get out. But when, you know, part of the problem that exists is what the positions are called. And probably somewhere down the road, as time evolves, we might have to look at the naming of the positions. Principal stenographer in most areas is being removed as a title. Confidential secretary, we aren't saying confidential stenographer, so immediately when you say confidential secretary, you kind of have that word in there. But I think what we're looking now is to place the people who are in those positions as management people. Isn't that basically what we're saying? We just hired a new accounting manager. We want that person to be a member of the management staff. Now, as a full board, I think what we need to do, now that the issue's been raised, we need to address the issues that you folks both brought up and say, okay, how can we physically do what we're doing, because within the context of that, there's some sharing of duties, there's a difference of designation of duties, there are a whole bunch of issues in there. So I think that's something we do have to address as a full board. And I think, Fred, you agreed with that, and Sam, and as long as you do, then I will accept a motion to move the accounting manager as a management staff position. If somebody will make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on adding that to the management
So
position?
we're gonna just stop right there, and then we're gonna take the other part, where?
I would say.
The other part, I think we need to take to.
We just
as
need
a
to
full
discuss
board
that
discussion.
with,
Let me make a suggestion.
Why don't we
here.
just go, leave it, let's just, like you just said, let's just handle this right here, and then we'll now obviously we made some concerns available here, and we'll deal with that.
Bring up
later.
the same I think you need to bring up the same issues with the full board, and whatever we have to deal with, that we deal with in open session, we deal with it. If there's something that needs to be dealt with in executive session, we'll deal with that. But I think the full board should
Okay.
take a look at that.
I wanna make a recommendation right here, that we go into executive session and make sure that we're exactly correct where we wanna go.
I second that motion.
Let me help out
Right
here.
now?
And the reason for the executive session is we'll discuss a
Personnel issue.
specific individual.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
I make that motion, Steve.
Okay, we need a second?
I'll second.
All right, let's go into executive session.
Yeah.
We'll take care of that.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay, come back to order, and as far as talking about the designation of management staff, I think at this particular point, we're going to look at taking no action on this item until we've had the opportunity to discuss this with the with our lawyer, and to look at all the other possibilities that may occur.
Great, thank you. For other policy updates, on page 15, there's a smoke-free workplace policy. It was requested by one of our board members that we look at this policy and revisit it. The page 16 through page 20 is what we have to comply with. That's the actual state of New York regulation. There's no leeway in that regard. The only leeway that we do have on page 15 is that second paragraph. The OBPA has the ability to set the distance from the entrances of the authority. In the past, we have set that at 25 feet from the entrance. And that is the issue that we need to deal with at the committee level. Do we want to continue that? Do we want to extend that? What do we want to do?
The way I was understanding this, and I'm glad you brought this forth, because the consideration was, what is the New York State regulation, smoke in public and workplaces, whatever, in regards to what we do here, whatever. And I guess what you're saying is, the only difference really is the distance out here that we, all right? And then if we wish to, and I think the way it was brought to certain places that the state of New York is, you can't smoke on their property whatsoever in some areas of New York State. So, we're not trying to make this difficult. It's not a major problem here where people smoke or whatever. But I think the way it's understood to me is that if we wish to change or the smoking distance, whatever, or not smoke here, we have the opportunity, we have the right to do that.
This is your opportunity to do that,
Do that.
yes.
Okay.
Well, this is, if we wanted to change it, we could, but we also can amend this later on. This isn't a
Absolutely.
forever policy. This is a minimum policy, the way I
You
would
could
look
say
at
it's
it.
10 feet today, come back and change
Right.
the policy tomorrow and say it's 500 feet. I mean, it's.
But, yeah,
completely
not just the
within
distance, but other things that might be within it, is what I'm saying. Is that, we can come back and amend it if we see the need to come back and amend it. This is almost like a minimum policy.
Well,
We
no-
can be stronger than this.
The,
Am I misreading that?
well, yes, let me answer your questions. Page 16 through page 20
Right,
is what we have to comply with. That
minimum,
establishes the minimum.
minimum.
The thing that is above the minimum, because of the type of state agency we are, it's not specified how far you smoke within the entrance to the building. So that's something that's on our plate in terms of, do we change it, do we leave it alone, or whatnot.
If I'm at the port, and on the port, I'll just use the port example, am I allowed to smoke a cigarette at the,
Short answer, no. Long answer, it depends on the area.
was a designated area down there where you can smoke?
There is a one of those,
Okay, so there is a designated
smoking
area.
cans down
Are
there.
they, I mean, I'm just using my city rules, whatever, okay, because I remember the ordinance saying whatever, a guy's in a snowplow truck, whatever he's driving, okay, and for a city employee, he's not allowed to smoke in the truck.
He's not allowed to smoke in the truck
As
per the minimum.
Right.
Okay,
He's
so
not allowed to
that,
smoke in the
so
truck
that's
per
in
the
there, I didn't
minimum.
read all those things, I didn't read all
And he's
those.
not allowed to smoke in the truck per OBPA policy,
Right.
so there's
Okay.
two layers.
So all those things are covered, that, you know, all the things, so all we're talking about distances, whatever, everything's covered, so it's just a matter is, do you wanna eliminate smoking completely, or the distance from where we smoke right now?
Well, one
No,
thing,
no, I'm saying-
let's take
No, no,
this.
no, no.
The
just saying that-
recommendation
No, I don't make a
is
recommendation.
25 feet.
No, what
No,
I'm just saying
let's
is,
take let me take this example.
yeah,
There's no smoking back there at all. For our people, we got that's the area back there is the handicap area to come in and out of the building. Problem is out here, these two main entrances here. They're smoking right there all the time, they got the cigarette butt thing out there and everything. That's the area that I feel that we should keep, either put it on that corner, or put it over there in that corner, or over there somewhere where they can go and smoke. But they can't smoke in front of these doors. On the bottom step, puffing away on them cigarettes. I don't like the smell of that when I'm coming in the doors, and I don't think it's, so, you know, when you say we should designate an area out there where these people can smoke. If you want to completely stop them, then you gotta put signs up like the school did, all around on every area that, like the walking trail. Okay? I had to turn the other night and go the other way, cause I couldn't get past the guy and he's smoking. And it's coming back hitting me and I don't like the smell of it. So I had to turn and go the other way. Well, that's my choice. But I can't stop him from smoking, but you can. You can put the signs up on the trail, say this is a smoke-free trail. Then they can't smoke on it.
one of the strong movements in corporate America is no smoking, employees.
Yeah.
And it's like corporate America can do that, I mean, we're state laws or something different. But they, you know, one of the things, if you smoke, and one of the interviews, part of the process, whatever, that's one of the big movements in America.
Well, you got people that's in this building that work here that smoke.
Yeah.
We have one of
I
them.
have the right to smoke, I have no question you have.
Well,
the right to smoke.
where are you gonna designate it?
Yeah.
And what gives them the right to smoke? None. As far as I'm concerned. When you're working for me, you're on this
That's
property, you're not gonna
That's what
smoke
corporate
here.
America's saying, that's what they're saying.
You're not gonna smoke here. So if you're gonna, you know, as far as moving to 25 feet would be nice to keep it away from the front doors.
Yeah.
But can we make a policy that says this is a smoke-free property? I don't know if we can do that because we rent.
You know, remember the city went through this with the parks and all of that. The school, that was part of the minimum policy, no tobacco use on school property.
Yeah, yeah.
That was simple.
Could we do that here?
I'm not sure, I don't have the answer to that. I think we have our minimum policy right here in front of us. That's what I was trying to say. If we wanted to go beyond that, we could add to it, I think, in the future. You know, what my experience was, when we went to those types of things on school property, we spent more time, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be there, we spent more time enforcing it than we had people to do it, and takes away from something else. So you can have all the laws on the book that you want.
But you did
And you say the people won't smoke, yeah, they will. So if you're, and I know exactly what you're talking about, you're on the walking trail and somebody's smoking ahead of you, okay, so where's the enforcement? We don't even have people, you know.
Well, you have to enforce it yourself. For instance,
Yeah, you do.
I said to the guy that day out here when his dog hit 3 pounds,
Right,
and I said, hey buddy, you gotta go back there with your scooper duper.
yeah,
What do you mean? I said, where's your bag?
Yeah.
That dog just dumped on that baseball field. Now I want you to pick it up.
yeah.
He looked at me and I said, it's up to you. If you don't pick it up, you're not gonna be walking on this trail no more.
Well, that's a strict fine, the city, if you don't.
So he said, oh no, he said, I forgot my bag, I'll make sure I get it picked up. He did,
Yeah.
but
Well-
he was pissed.
So I guess that's what I said, that, when we started, this is a minimum policy. And if we wanted to make it stronger, I think we can. I believe that we can, by,
Oh, absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
I
that we
definitely,
have the right to. The question is how much do we wanna put into this one, and how strong do we wanna make it? Do we wanna get the first one into place? And then, once again, bring back, get the opinions of the full board to expand it.
You see,
But
with
at
us
least-
renting the property out and all these people, landlords that we got, you know, it's tough for us to do this.
I don't know,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is
know that
pretty
we
tough.
can.
I mean, I'm just trying to think how, I'm sorry, Steve, but, go ahead, finish.
No.
No, go ahead.
Well, the thing I'm thinking is, all right, we have an airport, you have an area out there, you have industrial park over here, you have a port, whatever. I guess for interest, and I'll identify myself and put I'm the one that looked at this here, whatever. And the reason I did was just exactly what you just said. How hard is it to police whatever you wanna be? And actually to know that there is a policy in place and what it is really, what it does spell out to do or not to do. To me is too difficult. I don't care about changing the policy. It's not that big of an issue for me at this point in time, other than that we do have a policy in place and it's, you know, enforced, whatever.
But you to put a thing out here on this entrance and that, there'll be no smoking in front of it, then you've got a designated area where those 2 or 3 people
Yeah.
can go smoke. And that's 25 feet away from these entrances. They shouldn't be standing right out here.
You're absolutely right. You
Yeah.
start from the parking lot, you can smell it.
yeah.
It was just like when you used to, and I know I'm on camera and I don't care. If you walk into the Ogdensburg Journal, it was the most
Yep.
disgusting thing in the whole world. It reeked, the tobacco was running out of the bottom, it was get rainwater in it, nothing on our steps. Get them away from the building, get that started, and that's what the city did in the parks, because they knew they had to keep it away from the equipment and the kids.
Yeah.
And so there's a distance.
Like
right
out
there.
back here, they shouldn't be smoking out there at all, really, with gasoline and everything out
Let
there.
me chime in here. I know Mona's been waiting, so Mona, go ahead and then I'll chime.
No,
I'll chime in.
I'm just gonna say, I agree, especially here, there's nothing worse. You've got somebody coming and they don't wanna walk through that. Like you said, especially here, even more important, like you asked about the port, I think even more importantly here, if we could get them off to the side.
Well, this is our, meeting area. This is where people come to
Yeah.
do business, whatever.
This is
You say,
where we
all right,
welcome
and
them.
Of course, we have clients here that are,
Yeah.
you know, not part of the
There's
bridge.
only 2 people that I see smoking on our property, and they're heavy smokers. But I've had a question in my mind, why do we have to allow them during working hours to give them smoke breaks? I don't know of any rules or regulations on that.
Just the normal breaks that you would have to give under the labor law, I would.
The union has 15-minute breaks, CSEA does.
Coffee breaks?
Yep, they have, 2 15-minute
So now they
breaks,
wanna
one
smoke,
morning,
they're gonna
one
go over to
afternoon.
that one area over there that you designate. If they wanna go smoke
The,
there.
We went through all of the same thing but far before this in schools, you know. Then what they would do is they'd run out and sit in their car.
Yeah.
Because how do you police the car? But now the sign says you cannot even smoke on school property.
Right.
So the people who smoke park
Yeah.
their car out in the street.
You go right
So they
now,
can-
right to Aldi's, you go to Aldi's right now, there's 16 of them standing across the road from Bolsey's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they'll
I'll
find,
suppose the same
they're
way.
gonna find a place during their 15-minute break to have their cigarette. But I agree with you, I don't
Yeah.
think they should get a break every 35 minutes because that's what their habit requires. Sometimes I honestly think that this should be a tobacco-free workplace because there's nothing more
Oh.
disgusting than somebody who, you know, chews and that type of thing. But that, and you're talking to a former smoker here that still loves the smell of smoke at times. At any rate, I think we need to get it off our front porch, get this policy in place, get the opinions of the full board, if we want to expand it, and expand it.
I make a motion to move it to the full board.
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor? Aye,
I did have two things I wanted to point out to you, but I'll hold that.
I'm sorry, you,
That's okay.
Bring back.
You were asking, how it was handled at ticketing things. And, I just want to read an excerpt here. Smoking shall not be permitted and no person shall smoke in the following outdoor areas: ticketing, boarding, platform areas, railroad stations operated by the MTA or its subsidiaries. That's how the MTA is treated in the statement of the. And the other, question, that came up was, about school districts. We've had some discussion about school districts. School districts use a 100-foot rule within entrances. And then healthcare facilities are no, healthcare and childcare facilities are not
Well,
on the
Steve got the
property at
answer,
all.
let him go sit in their car and smoke.
At least they're not in front of the entrances. I mean, it's.
we went, it was such a hassle. We have a dome with hockey.
Mhm.
We're the only school district anywhere that, so what happens? Even school board members who had kids on the hockey team would walk outside the dome and smoke.
Oh, terrible.
Well, that's all okay, except I go to watch my grandson play hockey, and guess what? Mr. Barlow's on duty. These two people are Board of Education members smoking a cigarette around the door. These people never had to follow these rules because they were at facility B over here, off of, we were school property. So believe me, I went through more smoking crap than I want to agree with. But our big thing is let's get them over here,
Yeah.
and our employees can smoke during the breaks. That's their choice. They should get no other breaks to smoke. No different than the person who
No.
wants coffee or whatever. That's part of life. We had the same thing happen in the school district. During your planning period, you could find a place to have a cigarette if you could. During your lunch break, you find, but you aren't gonna run out between classes. The one guy that was the union rep, he'd leave his class early and go downstairs and smoke outside.
What
You know,
they
I
do-
mean-
What they do in Watertown and Dakeport in that building there?
There's no smoking up there
Yeah.
at the state office building, none.
There's
No,
no
nowhere.
smoking in airports.
I don't see
there's-
none at
This is
all.
a- Yeah.
They don't let them smoke even outside.
We definitely have to get it away from the entrances. That's.
You know, the sad part about it is, you know, we're all smokers at one time and everything else. Now, it stinks, because we're non-smokers now. And you can smell it on people's clothes and in their hair and everything else. But, you know, there's a common sense smoker too. A person that smokes a little bit, you don't smell that. But when you get these compact smokers that one right after the other, now Jimmy Reagan was one. I mean, you're right, you couldn't go in the journal office. I don't know how them people worked in there.
Yeah,
I mean, you could cut the smoke in there,
yeah.
you know? It was just the way they did. Jimmy smoked through 4 or 5 packs a day, but that's what his life was. Now he doesn't smoke at all.
Well, he was one of the biggest arguers against the smoke-free policy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he wrote articles about it,
Yeah.
and he did the Key Club, and he would purposefully light up a cigarette in front of school
Yeah.
and walk across the property and stomp it out. It's not just the cigarette. How about
Yeah.
the butts?
Yeah.
All the,
Well, surprised you should say that. You know, keep it to us here.
Still on camera.
Butts.
that's okay. I'm done.
Are we gonna adjourn now?
Yeah, let's go for adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Need a second? All in favor? Aye.
Being a-